Hey everybody, Mike with Long Range at the Lilies here with Scott Satterlee and part of his trophy room, as you guys can see. Scott, you've been blessed to take some amazing animals. We wanted to talk to you today about kind of a subject that seems to come up a lot when we talk about the NRL hunter. I think there's, the hunting segment of society is so vast, and the precision rifle competition segment is very small. Yep. And as these two worlds start to kind of blend, I think that there's some institutional inertia there. I think that hunting is probably mostly past generational knowledge from grandfather to father and father to son. Yeah. And what I've noticed is there's a real resistance to anything that comes outside of that knowledge stream.
Sure.
So what we wanted to talk to you guys about today is kind of the evolution of the hunting rifle. So truth in lending, I totally forgot to bring a traditional hunting rifle, kind of my grandfather's hunting rifle.
I don't have one anymore.
Yeah, but what we have here is kind of what I would call the modern version of the hunting rifle.
Traditional rifle.
The modern version of the traditional hunting rifle. Yep. So if you wanted to talk us through that.
So we've got, a traditional stock. It's a bolt action, kind of a Remington 700. We've got a carbon fiber. It's a Manners EH1. I think the biggest real change, this could be wood, it would be a traditional Remington 700 rifle. The biggest change has come with our lasers, our optics, the ability, computing power on your phone.
Sure, ballistic solvers.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I think the tradition and the heritage, that everything being passed down, it's, and what you're saying about institutional knowledge is that there's the way my grandfather did it, the way my great grandfather did it, the way my mom hunted antelope, we still hunt animals the same way. It's just the tool that we use is a little bit different now.
And the capabilities are much more vast.
Crazy amounts of capability that we have, even with your old wood stock hunting rifle, just by putting a different scope on it and getting a laser, your capability goes through the roof on what you can do. You're not guessing anymore, right?
Yeah. Now instead of just like, hold over his back, should be in the ballpark. Now at great distances, you can say with certain amount of certainties based off of your training level, your proficiency, and your knowledge of your firearm and your data, you can put a bullet exactly where you want to put it.
You know exactly where it's going to be in space and time. And I think some of our bigger rifle manufacturers and our ammo manufacturers are still kind of perpetuating that, with your 26 Nosler or your 6.5 300 Weatherby Magnum or something like that. We always still think, or
the old .6.
Speed kills, right? Yeah. Speed does kill, but the reason why we created that was for the guy with a duplex reticle that wants to have a 50-yard and a 350-yard repeat zero, and they create that danger space in there where they can just hold hair and shoot. And again, you go out there without a laser, you don't actually know how far you're shooting. I don't know how many times I've heard, I just held on his back 700 yards. I'm like, that's not possible unless you got a phased plasma rifle,
Right, exactly.
Right? So
as hunting rifles have evolved, and then recently we've given birth to the NRL Hunter series, which the feedback has been fantastic on, and we've posted some videos, and it's generated a lot of buzz, and it brings a lot of questions. One of the things that comes up is, what is a modern hunting rifle? Because guys see like some of the other rifles we have here, and they're like, that's not a hunting rifle. It doesn't have a wood stock. It's not a 3-to-9 power, second focal plane scope, and they don't view it as a hunting rifle.
Right.
And I think that the paradigm and the way we view things has got to shift. Like, my grandparents used to communicate by mail when they were separated.
Right.
I communicate by FaceTime. Right. Can I send a letter? Absolutely. I can mail a letter to my kid. Yeah, a postcard. But I can also FaceTime and get better results. And what we're doing with these modern hunting rifles is, I don't think a lot of people understand the capability that exists within these rifles. And of course, I want to caveat that with The capability that exists within these rifles only exists if you have the training and the proficiency to utilize them to their abilities. But I think that a lot of people don't understand just how much they're hamstringing themselves and their capabilities by not having a modern hunting rifle. And I get it. Like, your grandfather killed deer every year, you know, and
with the 30-30.
with a 30-30 and, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But the capability now that exists within these rifles, let's pull up one of your other rifles.
Okay. This is kind of my Gen 1 modern, ultra modern hunting rifle right here.
Okay, so I'm seeing a carbon fiber barrel,
Correct.
a carbon fiber chassis, a lightweight action,
Yep.
and then, you know, obviously a modern optic there with the Night Force.
Yeah, that's their new NX8. So
Okay.
it's pretty light.
Okay.
I think this thing total with the bipod weighs right at 10.1 pounds.
Okay, 10.1 pounds. So that's another thing we get a lot too, is, you know, the NRL Hunter has two weight classes, the 12 pound and the 16 pound. And they're like, a 16-pound hunting rifle? I would never take a 16-pound hunting rifle
I
hunting.
know a lot of Texas, Oklahoma boys that hunt with 60-pound guns.
Yeah, again, when you're on the plains and you're finding things at great distance, and you're spotting them, and you may not have to carry it on your pack. Now, am I going to take a 16-pound hunting rifle on a sheep hunt up in the North Cascades wilderness?
No.
No way. But, you know, I think that there's a lot of regional flavors that can change what you utilize. So what, for example, would you hunt with this?
Okay, this is I've got it suppressed. This is, I can hunt anything from elk down, and this is kind of one of my like I said, this is my Gen 1. It's a short action, so I can run 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 PRC. It's meant to be more of you know, it can kill elk. Obviously, 6.5 PRC, 6.5 Creedmoor's killed a lot of elk. But I can also switch the barrel out and make it a 6.5 Creedmoor, or I can even make it a 223, you know, 243. So this is, since it's a short action, I kind of cater to the short action cartridges, you know, so anything from whitetail and you know, this is a really, really accurate rifle. And it's like, a lot of guys will say, I mean, I've done Great American Outdoors show with Gunworks, and guys would come around and be like, I don't need a rifle that shoots 1,000 yards. I'm like, shoots 100 yards really good too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm not, you know, this isn't the kind of rifle that, you know, you put a paper plate up and put a Sharpie marker on it. I'm picking a point on that Sharpie marker to hit.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not trying to hit the paper plate.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's that time of year at the range where somebody will throw up a 12-inch pie plate at 100 yards, and they'll barely hit, you know, 3 edges and be like, oh, that's a dead deer, I'm good, and they'll take off.
That's right.
What we're getting out of these rifles, though, is pinpoint precision. With that pinpoint precision, what it buys you is some forgiveness in case
Big time.
you're a little off.
Yep.
If your rifle's capable of shooting this at 200 yards, and now you add some range estimation error, maybe a bad position, now you're running some risk. But if your rifle is capable of doing this at 100 yards,
That's right.
and you add some range estimation error and maybe some wobble, now you're still in the vitals of that animal.
Correct.
And you bought yourself some forgiveness.
And you can feed it through brush in the trees,
True.
right? Where, you know, if I've got a baseball size hole in a tree, and I know my height, I know my height over bore, and I know where that bullet's going to be at 50 yards or whatever, I can make a 150-yard shot through that hole in the tree.
Sure,
Right?
absolutely.
So, yeah, this is super capable rifle, super fun. I do hunt some coyotes and predators with it too,
Yep.
with the suppressor. So, not every state allow you to hunt with a suppressor, but yeah, this is the modern hunting rifle, and it's a super light action. It is a folder, so this thing packs up super small. You know, I can put that thing in my pack, and now, you know, even if I take the suppressor off, it's super repeatable. So I can take the suppressor off and put it in my pack as well. And now, you know, I put this thing in my pack, and it's not sticking up above my head, so I'm not, you know, getting trapped in trees and.
Sure, and it would be even more portable without the suppressor.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now, take us to your next evolution of a hunting rifle.
Okay, the next evolution of hunting rifle is basically the same setup, but what I've been able to do with it is it's a little lighter, and this is a multi-caliber setup.
Okay.
So with the tolerances that they're holding now with a lot of your modern actions, your impacts, your defiances, your lone peaks, they're all, you can do pre-fit barrels.
So let me expound on that a little bit, just for maybe our audience that's not familiar. So modern actions hold a tolerance to where it's action to action to action. They're all within a very small tolerance for margin, for dimensions, so that you can get pre-made barrels, pre-cut barrels that you can screw on and you can move action, action, action. Wasn't always the case with Remington 700s and stuff like that. You used to have to send it off to a gunsmith.
Correct.
He would have to blueprint it and true it and square everything up.
Buy a whole nother rifle.
And every barrel you bought, you had to send it back to the gunsmith, and he would have to make sure everything was perfect. Whereas nowadays, with modern actions and modern barrels, you can basically order it, assemble it yourself. Obviously, all your firearms laws apply to getting an action. But you can assemble it yourself. And how quickly can you go from caliber to caliber with this weapon?
So with this rifle, I can go from this right now. It's set up as a 375 Ruger.
That's manly.
And for the weight of a rifle, it's a handful.
Yeah.
I can go to 300 Win Mag in about 15 minutes. If I'm not happy with that, 15 minutes later, I can be in a 7 mag. 15 minutes later, I can be in a 6.5 PRC.
That's awesome.
So, and the beauty of that is, and your scope is really your most expensive part on this whole entire setup. You can go with Leupold, Vortex, Night Force,
whatever you want. I mean, there's so many great optics companies out there.
A good set of rings, one action, one trigger, one chassis, and 4 different calibers.
So basically what you're doing is you're analyzing where you're going.
That's right.
And then you're picking the right caliber and the right tool for the job.
Yep. So here I've got, this is a shortish, a 7 sawn barrel. So this is kind of a 7 mag, same kind of capability. This barrel is, surprise, 300 Win Mag. Still, it's a little longer, maybe 2 inches longer. And then this is a 6.5 PRC barrel. And
which is my personally favorite.
It is one of my personal favorites as well. So yeah, 6.5 PRC. So within minutes, or from trip to trip, because this year I hunted archery in Oregon. I'm going to go back and I'm going to hunt rifle. Here I've got an elk and a deer tag in Washington, which is kind of a different ball game for us. I can actually get pretty close. They bed down in the sod banks, versus where we're going in Oregon, we're going to be presented with a pretty tough shot.
Yeah.
And it's, we got James Rose shooting. I'm going to be spotting. We're going to be filming it. And we're going to practice it. We're not just going to go first shot out and try to bag an elk at 700 yards. You know what I mean? So, and that's really kind of the evolution of the game there, where you don't have to be fast and flat. You can be kind of a medium velocity caliber. I like to shoot the heaviest bullet I can for that, like 210 AccuBond or 175 AccuBond or 150 grain AccuBond.
Depending on the caliber, of course.
Right. And that bullet is designed to perform from about 1,700 feet per second to 2,800 feet per second. Anything past that, you never know what you're going to get. The faster that bullet's going, the more frangible it is.
So there's a great point. I think there's a very old school line of thinking that the faster a bullet's going, even close range, like the better. But that's not necessarily the case, because you can get, for example, I've had experiences where I've shot a 28 nozzler into a coyote at 150 yards, and it just didn't have time to expand. It zipped right through him, punched a perfect 28 cal hole right through him, and the bullet didn't have time to expand because it was just carrying too much energy and passed through.
And didn't leave any energy behind it, because it didn't have time to deform, change shape, and change direction or yaw. So that's kind of how I plan my hunts. I plan around 1,750 feet per second. You know, if I'm above that and the winds are something I can manage, then I feel comfortable taking the shot. If not, I get closer. But again, it's one of those things where, you know, I brought this when I was stationed at Fort Campbell. I was shooting whitetail across bean fields and soybean fields and cornfields from tobacco barns. You know, and guys were like, "Why don't you sit in a tree stand?" And I was like, "No, I don't like tree stands." So, and you know, I was playing to my strength, right? And you know, you bring up fair chase and some of the other stuff. I'm like, man, I want to get to 90 yards, and that's why I bow hunt, right? I bow hunt to have fun and get the experience of getting close. But during rifle season, I'm going to put meat on the table. That's my biggest goal. So.
And I think, you know, everybody hunts for different reasons and different goals. I think that we would be remiss if we didn't discuss long range hunting has become kind of popular. There's been some TV shows put out about it. And I just want to reiterate that we're not advocating taking shots at long range. Like if I'm presented with an 800-yard shot that I can move in and get a 100-yard shot, then absolutely I'm going to move in and take that slam dunk 100-yard shot. Correct. Plus, the half of the fun is stalking anyway. Correct. But what I like to have is the capability to where if that once-in-a-lifetime animal presents itself at a distance that I am trained and proficient at shooting, and every person is different, and I have the capability within my weapon system to do so, I want the ability to take that shot. Correct. So I'm not watching my once-in-a-lifetime animal walk away from me because I couldn't take the shot.
Correct.
And I'm not going to take an unethical shot with a weapon system that is not up to that capability.
Yeah, or even a weapon system that's not up to the capability, and then or the shooter that's not up to capability.
Sure.
And that's kind of what we were getting at from the beginning, is that even that Woodstock 700 or Model 70 and 30-06, you can kill stuff at a really long range with that stuff. If you know your ballistics, you've shot it enough, you've got good reloads or really good factory ammo, and you have the equipment capable of doing it, and you're capable of doing it. You know, really, and that does come down to the evolution of the laser and the scope. I mean, we have binos now that you plug everything in on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
You get a laser, and it'll tell you what your wind is. It'll tell you what your drop dat is. You just put that on your scope and shoot.
Which is, you know, it kind of ties us all back neatly into what started this whole thing, which is the NRL Hunter concept. That competition, in my opinion, is the best shakedown of your gear, because I mean, yes, it's a hunting competition, but it's as close, I feel like, as you can get to replicating the stress and all the things that you have to do to be successful in a hunt, with finding a target, ranging the target, and then engaging the target. And the other fantastic thing about the NRL Hunter concept is you can learn where your limits are without wounding an animal.
Correct. You can shoot steel over and over and over again,
Yeah.
and you don't have to worry about it walking off somewhere and dying.
Exactly. And you know, the other thing that I think has not been really talked about much with the NRL Hunter competitions is you don't need a fancy rifle system. You can bring whatever you have in your safe and register for the basic class that I understand is getting renamed. I'm not sure what it's being renamed to.
I think it's going to be hunter or skills or.
Regardless, there is a class that you can register for that you don't get to compete for the prize table, but it's also half the cost. Your points aren't getting tracked, but you can go out, have the full experience, test your limits, test your gear, test your rifle, and get dialed in before hunting season.
And not only that, but you get to be around another 150 guys that are doing the same stuff, and you get to see everything from, a base model rifle all the way up to, this thing right here.
Yeah, this thing's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So I think we should tie it off there. Guys, I can't stress this enough. Get out there, find out what you're capable of. There's all kinds of stuff out there now that will make you a better shooter. There's better training, there's better equipment, there's better knowledge. Get out there, make yourself a more proficient marksman, which in turn will make you a more efficient hunter, and hopefully you can come home with one of these on your wall. Scott, I really appreciate you
Thank
coming
you.
on the show.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on and sharing some of your toys. And I know we're going to do a podcast later about kind of like what is hunting.
Right.
Because we're here at a competition, and we have guys from all over the nation here that are hunters, and we're going to sit down and have kind of a roundtable discussion. I'm
It's
really
going to
looking
be
forward
awesome.
to that.
Yeah, we had kind of a dry rehearsal last night. It's going to be good.
Whiskey fueled, of course.
Yeah.
All right, thanks guys. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.